everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how I painted this lotus flower using acrylic paints on a wooden canvas. Now I recently went to my art store and I found these wooden canvases which I thought would be interesting to try to paint on. And I also picked up a daily Rowney acrylic gesso just to prepare my wooden canvas for my painting. And I've also got a brush that I've had at home which is a cheaper brush just so that I can apply the gesso to the wooden canvas. You can see the wooden canvas is similar to the box canvases, only it's made of wood. So I'm just shaking up the bottle in case it needs to be shook. It doesn't say that, but just in case. And you can see I'm also going to be dampening my brush, not completely soaking into water. I'm just putting a little water to dampen it so that the gesso moves easier on the wooden canvas. Now these canvases are very smooth. They are already smoothened and sanded down. So I'm basically creating texture by using the gesso because it was very smooth. Now the reason why I'm using gesso to prepare the wood is if I try to paint directly on the wood, I'm going to have to paint multiple layers, and I'm also going to have some of the paint absorb into the wood. So it's advisable to paint the surface with gesso first, so that then when you paint over with your paints, you won't need so much of paint to do multiple layers and the wood won't absorb the paint. Now this would apply to acrylics or oils, although oils is a different case. You need to prepare any surface that you use for oils with gesso. With acrylic you could paint directly on the wood, nothing could really happen, but you're going to have some paint absorbing into the wood, and it's going to also take many layers before you can cover the wood or get the actual painting to appear over the wood and not have the wood show through. It's just always a good idea to prepare your surfaces, whether it's paper, a sketchbook, or even canvas if your canvas is not pre-primed, just to prime it, or use primed canvases, and just to prepare your paper or sketchbook or wooden canvases or any wooden surface if you want to paint on, just so that you know it's prepared before you start painting. So also remember on the gesso as well, clean up the area where you squeeze out the gesso just to make sure that there's nothing dried up, otherwise it'll go back into the rest of it and you'll have clumps of dried gesso in the bottle of paint. So now I'm just rinsing out the brush and I'm making sure that I'm drying it quite thoroughly on a cloth. And I'm going to actually add, I let the first layer dry completely. You must let the first layer dry completely. You can use a hairdryer to speed the drying time, and I'm putting a second coat. I would recommend a minimum of 2 coats. If you want to go more than that, you're more than welcome to. It's perfectly fine. It's entirely up to you. You can even sand it down between layers depending on the thickness and the texture of the gesso that you are using. So now once it was completely dry, I just went in with a base layer of the background color just to cover the white of the wooden canvas or the primed wooden canvas. And I'm not paying too close attention to the brush strokes because at the end of the whole exercise of painting, I want the background to have my brush strokes showing. So I'm using a hairdryer to speed up the drying time. Now I'm going over with the second layer of paint. This is much darker. And this is just the background. As I said, I'm not looking to have a too smooth background. If you want a smoother background, you can use a bump brush to blend it together or blend it out together so that you don't have any brush strokes showing. But in this case, I wanted the brush strokes to show. So I'm also painting the sides of the canvas. Like with the stretch canvases or even the box canvases, it's always a good idea to paint the sides of the painting. There's personal preference. You don't have to if you don't want to, but usually with the box canvases, it looks better. Even with the stretch canvases, it looks more complete, the painting, if the sides are painted. So I just did that as well, so that that's also covered. Now I started putting in the base layers of where the petals are going to go, where the stem is going to go. And you can see I'm using I just used a base green just for the stem to indicate where the stem is. And I'm going through now with a light pink, sort of a peach color, just to layer in where the petals are going to appear and where the petals overlap one another or overlap each other. And I'm just using a hairdryer in between just to speed up the drying time. So now I'm coming through on this stem and I'm adding a bit more of the color that I wanted to have, which is, it's a very light sort of a lime green color. So I'm trying to bring that bright green and that bright pinks into this particular lotus flower. That's according to the reference photo that I'm using for this one. But obviously you don't have to stick to the reference photo, you can change it. I have changed certain things in this one as well. Okay, so now I'm going in with a more medium pink and I'm trying to create the texture or the patterns of the petals, but I am going to come through again afterwards and go over with the darker pink and then work to the light. So I'm working from darker to light because it was not looking complete when I was trying to do it this way, and it was showing a lot of the background was showing through. So I decided to paint over with the darker pink and then come through with the light colors and get that texture, that patterns of the petals. Now remember, the more layers you do, you're not messing up anything. Paint over it if you make a mistake. The more layers, the more depth it creates and the more dimension it gives to your painting. No matter what you're painting, but it gives more dimension to your painting. So it can depend also on the subject, but usually more layers are better. So even if you doing fur for an animal, more layers means more depth in the fur. So don't ever think that if you're painting too many layers, you can never paint too many layers. The more layers, the better. Now you can see I'm going in with a pastel pink, a very light pastel pink, just to get in the patterns of the lotus flower, and I'm also going over with a very light pastel green. There's just a mixture of some whites together with the pink or peach together with the pink, and then the white with a little bit of green just to get that pastel shades. You can see now I'm just defining some of those lines and getting in those brightest highlights. Once again, I'm not using pure white. I've got a bit of pink in there, although it does appear white. If I put a pure white, it's going to look too stark white and it's going to stand out a lot. So now I'm just going in and adding the shadows and the highlights just to bring the flower to life and make it look more brighter. So I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Till the next one. Bye.